What if I told you that your morning coffee isn't just waking you up, but it might actually be slowing down your aging process? Now, I know, that sounds too good to be true. So before you go trashing all your supplements and face creams, then let's make a cup of coffee, put my neuroscience PhD to good use, and go over the multitude of scientific studies to understand the link between coffee consumption and aging, the science behind it, and finally discuss some real-world benefits, backed by science of course. And trust me, some of it might change the way how you see your daily cup. Hi there, I'm a vet, a neuroscientist, and an author of several neuroscience studies. On this channel, I explore how the brain works and decode its mysteries. But most importantly, I like to explore how these facts affect our lives. So if this sounds like something right up your alley, well, you know what to do. Let's start with the big question. Does coffee actually help you live longer? The short answer? Well, yes. There's strong evidence that it's linked to longer life. Across dozens of long-term studies, people who drink coffee regularly have a lower risk of dying from any cause. And this pattern holds true across different countries and lifestyles. But in 2024, researchers took it a step further. Instead of looking just at lifespan, they looked at biological age. And that is how old our body is on the inside. Think of it like this. Our chronological age is how many birthdays we've had. However, your biological age reflects how well your cells and organs are functioning. Two people might both be 50, but one could have the biology of a 40-year-old while the other is closer to 60. And here's what they found. People who drank coffee had younger biological ages, meaning their bodies appeared to be aging more slowly. The effect showed up across men and women, younger and older adults, and different lifestyle habits. Now, it's important to say this very carefully. Coffee drinkers age more slowly on average, but that doesn't mean that coffee necessarily causes slower aging. And you know what they say about causation and correlation. Anyway, it's an association, but a consistent and intriguing one at that. So, what's in coffee that could explain this? And there are two main things, mainly caffeine and polyphenols, which are a group of powerful antioxidants. Every day, our cells create molecules called free radicals, which are tiny, unstable particles that damage DNA and proteins around them. This DNA and protein damage adds up and drives the aging process. Antioxidants are like the cleanup crew that neutralize those radicals. And coffee is one of the richest sources of antioxidants in Western diet, at least that's what was claimed by one of the studies. For most people, it's the single biggest source. However, the story does not stop at antioxidants. Coffee triggers a cascade of changes inside your cells, affecting how they use energy and how they respond to stress. So, let's break this down. Inside every cell is a control switch called mTOR. It decides whether your cells should grow, divide, or repair themselves. And when mTOR is dialed down, cells shift into maintenance mode, repairing damage and extending lifespan. And here's where coffee gets interesting. In a study on aged mice, both regular and decaf coffee reduced mTOR activity in the liver and improved metabolism. In other words, coffee seemed to tap the brakes on a key aging pathway. And now, that was a mouse study, not in humans. But because the mTOR pathway works similarly in people, it might be giving us a clue about how coffee might promote healthy aging at the cellular level. Lower mTOR activity has also been linked to lower risks of age-related diseases like cancer and metabolic disorders. So, decreasing it slightly could be one reason coffee drinkers tend to age more gracefully. At least that's what we like to tell ourselves, right? Secondly, coffee activates your metabolism. In that same mouse study, older mice given coffee became more active, burned more energy, and despite eating more, didn't even gain extra weight. Their blood had lower levels of fatty acids, and their liver cells produced more ATP, which is the molecule that powers nearly everything your body does. This is important because as we age, our metabolism naturally slows down and our cells become less efficient. Coffee appears to help counteract that decline, keeping energy production higher and metabolic waste lower. In simple terms, it helps your cells run cleaner and stay youthful longer. Not a bad deal. Another way how coffee might affect aging is through its effects on DNA. At the ends of your DNA strands are what is called telomeres, which are protective caps that shorten as we age. When they get too short, cells stop dividing properly. And here's where the story starts to get complicated. Some studies have found that caffeine is linked to shorter telomeres, which, as you can imagine, is bad. But others show that certain compounds in coffee can activate telomerases, which are the enzymes that rebuild them. So, which is which? Probably both. The relationship depends on dose, preparation, and genetics. But the clearer story is this. Coffee's antioxidants and polyphenols reduce the oxidative stress that damages DNA itself. That means less mutation and slower biological aging overall. In short, coffee may not literally lengthen your telomeres, but it helps protect what's written on them. And by the way, if this video has changed the way how you see your morning cup, I would love to hear more in the comments down below. All of this cellular science translates into very real-world benefits. Moderate coffee drinkers consistently show lower risks of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, Alzheimer's, and also Parkinson's disease. In fact, the link between caffeine and Parkinson's is one of the most robust in nutrition science. Caffeinated but non-decaf coffee is associated with studies indicating up to 60% lower risk. And even for Alzheimer's, regular moderate coffee use is tied to slower cognitive decline and a lower risk of dementia in later life. So it seems, and here is very important to stress, seems that coffee improves the number of years you stay healthy, mentally sharp, and not just the lifespan. Now for a few surprising findings. A 2024 study found that coffee drinkers showed less visible skin aging, which is likely due to its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. And a compound called chlorogenic acid, abundant in coffee, may help support brain health and memory, especially with long-term intake. So, from your skin to your neurons, coffee seems to offer a pretty broad safety net. But yeah, before you go and chug a barrel of coffee a day, remember that in most things in life there is a sweet spot. And in fact, drinking too much coffee can make you anxious and wreck your sleep. And at least according to this study, apparently timing matters, where drinking coffee in the morning seems to be more beneficial. And interestingly, according to the research, decaf still helps with antioxidant and metabolic effects, though its protection against Alzheimer's and Parkinson's appear weaker. And I guess this could be because decaf is not exactly zero caffeine, but there's usually between 15 to 30% of caffeine. But yeah, so far we don't know. So yeah, anyway, mind you, coffee isn't a miracle cure, but it's far from an empty hype. Dozens of human studies and animal experiments show that moderate coffee consumption is linked to slower biological aging and healthier metabolism. It is also linked to a lower risk of age-related diseases. So, next time that you're sipping your morning coffee, remember this research and hopefully your future self will thank you for it. However, coffee is only one piece of the puzzle, because diet can also influence the aging process. And in fact, in this video, I go over the research on the keto diet and aging. And with this, thanks for watching and see you in the next one. Ciao!